What's worse than a racist flight attendant? Finding out your passenger owns the entire airline. Last Friday at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport marked a turning point in aviation history. Marcus Thompson, a black airline owner worth 9 figures, had just closed a landmark $50 million acquisition deal that would reshape the industry. Walking through the terminal in his casual black hoodie, designer jeans, and carrying a sleek backpack, he embodied the modern successful entrepreneur who valued comfort over appearance. The premium check-in counter scene played out like countless times before. The attendant's eyes darted between his casual attire and the first-class ticket, her forced smile barely masking her prejudice. Her fingers lingered longer than necessary on his ID, double-checking the name against the reservation. Business or pleasure? She asked with thinly veiled skepticism, despite his premium status card clearly indicating he was a frequent executive traveler. The first-class lounge revealed the stark contrast of perceptions. Suited executives huddled around premium whiskey, discussing market projections and quarterly reports. Marcus sat quietly in the leather chair, sipping his aged scotch, listening to their flawed analysis of his recent acquisition. One group particularly caught his attention. They were discussing the very company he'd just bought, their numbers off by millions. The irony wasn't lost on him. They'd probably assume he was there on upgraded miles rather than recognize him as the owner of their newest competitor. At precisely 2:15 p.m., the boarding call for Flight 2187 echoed through Gate A23. The usual first-class passengers lined up, old money in tailored suits, Wall Street types clutching their briefcases, and Marcus, whom they all assumed was in the wrong line. The gate attendant's eyebrows arched as she triple-checked his boarding pass. "First class?" she questioned, her tone implying an error. Marcus simply nodded, already anticipating the events that would unfold over the next few hours. As he settled into seat 1A, premium leather welcoming him by the window, the cabin crew began their pre-flight routine. That's when flight attendant Sarah Mitchell appeared, her name tag as pristine as her perfectly pressed uniform, wearing that familiar condescending smile that had greeted him countless times before. She surveyed his appearance, from the hoodie to the jeans to his mere presence in first class, her judgment evident in every glance. Little did she know, her next 4 hours of subtle racism would cost her more than just a job. Sometimes the most expensive lessons in humility are taught at 35,000 feet, and class was about to begin. The discrimination began to unfold during boarding. Sarah Mitchell hovered around seat 1A like a suspicious security guard, demanding to verify Marcus's boarding pass for the 3rd time in 20 minutes. The contrast was stark. Other first-class passengers received warm smiles, coat check offers, and pre-flight champagne, while Marcus got suspicious glances and curt nods. 2 elderly white passengers were greeted with "Welcome back to first class," while Marcus's presence was met with barely concealed disdain. As the cabin filled, Sarah's bias became a public performance. "Sir, do you need help finding overhead space?" she announced loudly, despite Marcus's single backpack already being properly stored. "The overhead bins in first class are quite different," she added unnecessarily. The businessman in the next seat raised an eyebrow at her tone, while a young woman across the aisle shifted uncomfortably. Marcus quietly documented everything on his phone. Time, 2:45 p.m., the first of many incidents in what would become a historic flight. The pre-flight service transformed into a masterclass in discrimination. While other passengers received detailed beverage menus and wine recommendations, Marcus got a blunt water. No warm towel service, no amenity kit explanation, no menu options, just the bare minimum attention required by airline protocol. His call button flashed for 10 minutes while Sarah attended to every other passenger's immediate needs. She even served the entire row behind him before acknowledging his request for a blanket. Linda, the white executive in 1B, watched the entire scene unfold with growing disgust. A frequent flyer herself, she'd never witnessed such blatant discrimination in first class. "Excuse me," she finally called out, her voice carrying authority. "This gentleman pressed his call button quite a while ago." Sarah's dismissive response came quickly. "I'll be with him when I can." Linda turned to Marcus, her voice low but firm. "I'm documenting this too. This is absolutely unacceptable." The meal service pushed Sarah's prejudice to new heights. While other passengers received detailed descriptions of the gourmet menu, our chef's special tonight is a pan-seared Chilean sea bass. She practically threw the menu at Marcus. The chicken is probably more appropriate for your palate, she suggested, her condescending tone drawing gasps from nearby passengers. We wouldn't want to waste the premium options, she added under her breath, but loud enough for the first 3 rows to hear. Linda's fork clattered against her plate in shock. A young executive in 2D stopped mid-bite. The cabin fell silent. Marcus reached for his phone, but this time he wasn't taking notes. The biggest mistake of Sarah's career was about to be revealed at cruising altitude, and the aviation industry would never be the same. The decisive moment arrived as Marcus pulled out his phone, his fingers steady on the keypad. "This is Marcus Thompson," his voice cut through the cabin's ambient noise. Sarah froze mid-service, the champagne bottle trembling visibly in her hand. "Yes, I'm on Thompson Airways Flight 2187, and I need to discuss an urgent staff situation." The color drained from her face as realization struck. She'd been discriminating against her own CEO for the past 3 hours. Complete silence engulfed the cabin, broken only by the steady hum of engines at 35,000 feet. Marcus methodically listed every incident with military precision. The ignored call button at 3:10 p.m., the withheld beverage service at 3 p.m., the condescending meal suggestion at 3:45 p.m. Each timestamp felt like a nail in Sarah's professional coffin. "I'll hold for the chief of staff," Marcus continued, his calm voice amplifying Sarah's visible panic. The cabin had become a theater of tension. Business travelers stopped typing mid-email. A woman in 3A removed her headphones. The chatty couple in 2C and 2D fell silent. Even the baby in row 4 seemed to sense the gravity of the moment. Sarah's perfectly pressed uniform couldn't hide her violent trembling as 2 senior flight attendants emerged from business class, their faces a mix of recognition and horror. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking." The intercom crackled with unusual urgency. "We'll be having an immediate crew change. Please remain seated." The announcement hit like a thunderclap in the already charged atmosphere. The senior flight attendants approached Sarah, their expressions grim. As they escorted her toward the back, her career dissolving with each step, phones emerged throughout the cabin. Social media was about to explode. Whispers erupted like wildfire. "That's Marcus Thompson. He owns the entire airline. Did you see how she profiled him? I heard he's worth billions. My God, she picked the wrong passenger." The lead attendant approached Marcus's seat, her professionalism barely masking her mortification. "Mr. Thompson, we deeply apologize for this incident. We're implementing immediate corrective action." Linda, still in 1B, couldn't suppress her satisfied smile. "Now that's what I call karma in first class." Marcus stood, deliberately straightening his hoodie, and turned to address the cabin. The next few minutes wouldn't just change one flight attendant's career. They would transform the entire airline industry. The movement was about to begin at 35,000 feet. Standing in the first-class cabin, Marcus Thompson's presence commanded a silence that spoke volumes. "Ladies and gentlemen, what you've witnessed today isn't just about one flight attendant's prejudice. It's about systemic bias that millions face daily in every industry, every city, every flight." The cabin hung on his every word as he laid out the most comprehensive anti-discrimination initiative in aviation history. For the next 20 minutes, Marcus detailed transformative changes. Thompson Airways would implement mandatory weekly bias training, not the usual yearly checkbox exercise. Every employee, from baggage handlers to board members, would undergo intensive cultural sensitivity programs. A new anonymous reporting system would be installed on seatback screens, allowing real-time feedback on crew behavior. The Diversity and Inclusion Board would have unprecedented power, with direct access to executive decisions and veto rights on policy changes. The plane's Wi-Fi buzzed with activity as passengers shared the unfolding story. #Thompson Airways shot to #1 trending worldwide. Videos of Sarah's walk of shame flooded social media platforms. Major news networks picked up the story. Airline CEO experiences racism on his own plane became the day's leading headline. Business publications rushed to analyze the implications. Thompson Airways sets new industry standard for anti-discrimination policies. The remainder of the flight transformed into an impromptu forum on discrimination. A black neurosurgeon described being repeatedly asked if he was lost in first class. An Indian tech CEO shared stories of being directed to economy despite holding first-class tickets. A Middle Eastern businessman detailed countless random security checks. Marcus listened, recorded, and incorporated each story into his evolving policy changes. As Flight 2187 began its descent into O'Hare, Thompson Airways was already a different company. News crews swarmed the terminal. Someone had tipped them off about the mid-flight drama. But Marcus had bigger plans than just another viral moment. He scheduled a press conference for the next morning, where he would announce a $100 million investment in aviation diversity initiatives. Sarah Mitchell's story became required viewing in corporate training sessions nationwide. Major companies across all sectors began examining their own biases. The incident sparked a broader conversation about prejudice in customer service, leading to industry-wide reforms. Hotels, restaurants, and retail chains scrambled to update their training protocols. 1 month later, Thompson Airways introduced the groundbreaking Respect Above Clouds program. Full scholarships were offered to 1,000 minority students pursuing aviation careers. The company's hiring practices were revolutionized. Diversity hiring increased by 300% in the first quarter. Customer satisfaction scores hit record highs. Employee retention rates soared. The transformation rippled through the industry. Competing airlines rushed to implement similar programs. The Thompson Standard became aviation's gold benchmark for service quality. Flight attendant training programs nationwide now included extensive sections on unconscious bias, using actual footage from Flight 2187 as a teaching tool. 6 months after the incident, Sarah Mitchell made a public appearance on national television. Through tears, she confessed to her biases and described her journey of self-discovery. She now travels the country, sharing her story at corporate seminars, turning her mistake into a movement for change. 1 year later, the aviation landscape had fundamentally shifted. Thompson Airways' market share had doubled. Their Respect Above Clouds program had expanded internationally. Marcus's casual hoodie from that fateful flight was displayed in the Aviation History Museum, alongside a plaque describing how one flight changed an industry forever. The story's final irony? The first-class cabin where Sarah Mitchell displayed her prejudice was now a training facility at Thompson Airways headquarters. Sometimes the most expensive lessons are taught in a hoodie at 35,000 feet. And sometimes, prejudice has a first-class ticket to its own downfall. Time has a way of revealing life's deepest lessons, and the Thompson Airways incident became more than just a viral moment. It evolved into a movement that changed lives. Beyond the policies, beyond the numbers, the true impact lay in the shifted mindsets and opened eyes. Statistics tell one part of the story. Hate incidents in air travel dropped by 70%. Customer satisfaction across all airlines reached historic highs. But the real change happened in daily interactions, in the small moments that make up our lives. First-class cabins across America became truly diverse spaces. Flight attendants started receiving cultural sensitivity bonuses. The phrase Thompson treatment entered the aviation lexicon, meaning service that sees the person, not the appearance. Sarah Mitchell's journey became a testament to personal transformation. Her public speaking engagements draw thousands, not for scandal, but for honest conversations about confronting our own biases. That flight, she often says, saved me from who I was becoming. Her tears during these talks are no longer of shame, but of gratitude for a harsh but necessary awakening. Marcus Thompson's legacy transcended aviation. His response to discrimination, firm yet transformative rather than punitive, became a blueprint for corporate America. The hoodie he wore that day tours schools nationwide, a symbol that success doesn't wear a uniform and dignity doesn't have a dress code. But perhaps the most profound lesson came from the passengers of Flight 2187. Linda, the executive in 1B, started a mentorship program for minority business students. The couple from 2C and 2D became diversity advocates in their respective companies. Even the baby from row 4, now a toddler, appears in corporate training videos about raising the next bias-free generation. The moral: your worth isn't measured by others' perceptions, but by the impact you choose to make when those perceptions are proven wrong. In a world quick to judge by appearance, True character reveals itself not in moments of comfort, but in moments of choice. Sometimes, the most powerful response to prejudice isn't anger, but transformation. The next time you're underestimated, remember this. The best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's changing the system that made them think they were right. This story reminds us that change doesn't always come from grand gestures, but from everyday moments where we choose dignity over discrimination, education over embarrassment, and progress over punishment. In the end, the highest altitude isn't reached at 35,000 feet. It's reached when we rise above our biases to see each other as we truly are. Remember, every first-class seat carries a story, but only those who look beyond appearances get to hear it. That's not just a lesson in aviation, that's a lesson in life.